Okay, so right off the bat, I just want to talk about the subject of this video. I'll mention what I'm doing in the background a little bit. I did have some technical difficulties with this again. God, a lot of technical difficulties. But I just wanted to get myself right into this topic because this is something I brought up on Twitter and I got a lot of feedback, aka people not agreeing with me. Which that's cool, you don't have to agree with everything I freaking say. But I'm gonna explain why I really dislike Hourly Comic Day. I don't really dislike it as a challenge. I dislike how people approach it. So let me just explain Hourly Comic Day. So hopefully I can get this video out when it's still Hourly Comic Day, but if not, whatever. So Hourly Comic Day is a day, it's supposed to be about promoting comics. Basically, it gets you, as somebody who likes comics, to make comics. So the goal is to make a page every hour of a comic. So by the end of 24 hours, you have 24 pages. Some people alter this to where you only have like a couple pages in the end. Some people say maybe not every hour, but an accumulative 24 pages, but you get my drift. It's 24 pages of comics. However, for the past 5 years that I've been a part of a comics community, I've seen this trend, and it is the most annoying thing to me, and I don't understand why this is a thing if people like comics. So, I just don't want this to seem like I'm, like, being a bitch to be a bitch here, so I'm going to really try to, like, hammer in my points, because I had some people being like, "You're so negative, Holly. Oh my god, you can never say anything positive, blah blah." To my response, I would say, I am really, really passionate about comics, okay? I like to read comics. I like to write comics. I like to make comics. So it kind of bothers me when people are doing the exact same thing every year, and it's debatable or not whether it's a comic. Okay. So I'm not going to put on screen any of the people's work that I'm talking about, but I guarantee you it's like, it's not just one artist, it's hundreds of artists that do this. And this isn't just limited to Hourly Comic Day, these are just general comics that I feel like should be improved. But basically what I'll find is, an Hourly Comic Day, people won't tell a story with their comics. And the whole point of comics is to tell a story. You know, there's a reason why... Okay, so right off the bat, I just want to talk about the subject of this video. I'll mention what I'm doing in the background a little bit. I did have some technical difficulties with this again. God, a lot of technical difficulties. But I just wanted to get myself right into this topic because this is something I brought up on Twitter and I got a lot of feedback, aka people not agreeing with me. Which that's cool, you don't have to agree with everything I freaking say. But I'm gonna explain why I really dislike Hourly Comic Day. I don't really dislike it as a challenge. I dislike how people approach it. So let me just explain Hourly Comic Day. So hopefully I can get this video out when it's still Hourly Comic Day, but if not, whatever. So Hourly Comic Day is a day, it's supposed to be about promoting comics. Basically, it gets you, as somebody who likes comics, to make comics. So the goal is to make a page every hour of a comic. So by the end of 24 hours, you have 24 pages. Some people alter this to where you only have like a couple pages in the end. Some people say maybe not every hour, but an accumulative 24 pages, but you get my drift. It's 24 pages of comics. However, for the past 5 years that I've been a part of a comics community, I've seen this trend, and it is the most annoying thing to me, and I don't understand why this is a thing if people like comics. So, I just don't want this to seem like I'm, like, being a bitch to be a bitch here, so I'm going to really try to, like, hammer in my points, because I had some people being like, "You're so negative, Holly. Oh my god, you can never say anything positive, blah blah." To my response, I would say I am really, really passionate about comics, okay? I like to read comics. I like to write comics. I like to make comics. So it kind of bothers me when people are doing the exact same thing every year, and it's debatable or not whether it's a comic. Okay, so I'm not going to put on screen any of the people's work that I'm talking about, but I guarantee you it's like, it's not just one artist, it's hundreds of artists that do this. And this isn't just limited to Hourly Comic Day. These are just general comics that I feel like should be improved. But basically what I'll find is an Hourly Comic Day, people won't tell a story with their comics. And the whole point of comics is to tell a story. You know, there's a reason why graphic novels have the word novel in them. It's because they are graphic, like image depictions of a novel. Sometimes even incorporating, you know, the text into the art. So it kind of bothers me that so many people make these comics where they're just about mundane shit, or they're literally about just making comics. I read a comic that was like, I can't think of any comics to make. Oh, I'll make it a comic, and that was the whole panel. I'll like draw a shitty version of it, because I've seen that joke like 3 times, and let me just say, that's not a joke. Like, if you're going to make a comic, make a comic. Think about panel layout. A lot of these don't even have panels. They're just like the same box. It's an art form, and it really bothers me that so many people, when they do Hourly Comic Day, they don't even bother to research comics or think about it as a comic. It's more like illustrations or a diary with a little bit of text. They're hardly ever comics. A lot of them will just be people's day, like they'll draw themselves going throughout the day. And again, I'm not talking about one artist here. I've seen this time and time again every single year. These are kind of akin to the diary comics, if you will. But I'll kind of get into why I differentiate these from other diary comics and other autobio stuff, because autobio doesn't mean shitty, okay? Autobio can be profound. Autobio can have incredible stories. So I'll see a lot of people being like, today I brushed my teeth at 4:45 a.m. And then that's one panel. Second panel will be like, then I went on a jog. Third panel, then I took a shit. Fourth panel, then I took a shower. Sixth panel, then I went to work. And it's the whole thing, just like that. And yeah, that can be a story. It can be. But when you don't have a through line, like, you need to look at, like, actual stories. I don't understand why you would just, like, documenting everything that happens to you, it might be interesting, but I don't understand why you feel the need to put yourself in this niche bubble of autobio, when I know most of the people who do these kind of comics, that's not how most of their other work is. It's not. So it's almost like people think Hourly Comic Day isn't about making comics, it's about making these, like, random illustrations of their day. Like, it's about making comics. You don't have to make it just like that. Not only that, I've hardly ever seen anybody on Hourly Comic Day incorporate the text. You know, lettering in comics is a big deal. I am horrible at lettering, but I do know how to make good speech balloons. I hardly even see people do speech balloons for Hourly Comic Day. Very important in comics. Pacing. The pacing's always fucking boring. There's nothing going on. There's not really action. It's just sort of a passive comic. I don't get it. So one thing I wanted to mention about the diary comics, because this makes it sound like I'm shitting on people for making stories about themselves or about their lives. No, there's many ways of making comics about your life to be interesting. Joshua Kimball, I've mentioned him a couple times. He's a really cool dude. And I'll leave his comic below so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But he is doing an auto-bio comic about his experiences with depression and faith and mental illness and stuff. And one of the most interesting things about his comic is because he considers every element of the page. You know, he'll have graphic elements like, he has this page where it's like a brain, and it's kind of like a scan of a brain, and it's incorporated with all the text. A lot of his pages are almost kind of like advertisements. They're amazing. It's comics are the one medium where you can change how people read it just by looking at it. So when you're keeping the panels the same throughout all the pages, you're keeping the pace the same. You're keeping literally everything the same, monotonous shit over and over and over again. Okay, if you're gonna tell a story about something that happened to you today, or yesterday, or something like that, have a point. Have a point to it. If you're saying how monotonous and boring your life is, show it. You could have an entire comic page where you're just tying a shoelace and it's like 20 panels or something. That's really monotonous. And when you have pages like that where there's like a million little panels on a page, it really is painful to like go to the next panel, to the next panel. It makes you, when you're reading it, seem like it's slow and deliberate. Like, this is a slow and deliberate act. That's what I'm talking about. So many of these people who are making these diary comics and these hourly comics for Hourly Comic Day are not even considering the basic principles of comics, which is why I kind of struggle to even call some of these comics. They're more like just illustrations with text. So that's why I was so pissed off about it, okay? I'm not trying to just shit on people for doing this thing. I don't really care if you do illustrations of your life. That's fine. Just don't call it fucking comics, okay? And if you really want to learn comics, learn comics. Like, there's so much to learn about comics. I really recommend getting the Making Comics books if you've ever wanted to make comics, because it really opens your mind to what comics are. They're not just a medium where you just shit out illustrations and add words to it, okay? It's not that. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like a mean asshole, but every single year I see the same drivel of people just making comics like, so today I picked my nose. I thought about making a comic and it was hard. I pet my cat. What the fuck is that? What is that? I don't know. I'm sorry if I offend anybody with this, but I think if you want to do comics, you should really think about what makes a comic a comic. You can do comics like this. I don't care. It's just like, if that's all you do every year on Hourly Comic Day, then what's the point? Like, really? You're just documenting a day. You could do that any point in time. That's not comics. So I'm gonna give more comic recommendations for you guys to kind of understand more about comics, specifically auto-bio, because I feel like this is a big problem with auto-bio. Like, I feel like that's people's go-to, is to do diary comics or auto-bio stuff. That's what I see most of the time on Hourly Comic Day. I am fucking thrilled when I see a comic that is not auto-bio from Hourly Comic Day. I literally shit my pants because I'm like, holy shit, a real comic. You actually made character turnarounds? Wow. Wow, you wrote a story out? Oh my fucking god. You did paneling that wasn't just a box? Fucking wow. That's hard. That's comics. So if you want to, like I mentioned, Joshua Kimball has some really great auto-bio. One of the things that's really, really, like, influential on a lot of auto-bio is Blankets by Craig Thompson. It really does help you kind of understand it. Like I said, Scott McCloud's Making Comics books. I just don't want to seem like a Debbie Downer about this, but it's been 5 years and I've seen the same comics from hundreds of different artists. It's ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe I'm just bitching. Maybe I'm just being an asshole. I don't know, but I just think this is kind of a problem when the whole medium is not even being represented. You're not even skimming the surface of what comics are when you do comics like this. You're not even dipping your toe into the pool of what comics could be. Like, maybe before you do something like Hourly Comic Day, devote like 20 minutes, just 20 minutes, into looking at various different comics. Like, go out to a bookstore. You don't even have to buy a book. Just go to a bookstore, flip through the pages. What do these comics do? What comics do you like? Do you like American comics? Do you like Western comics? Do you like indie comics? What kind of comics do you like? What's the paneling like? What's the layout of the comic? You know, all of that is so important to learn comics. So when I see a challenge or like a day devoted to comics, I want to see comics. And I haven't been for 5 fucking years. Ugh. I'm sorry. I don't want to be mean. I didn't think this tweet was that like innocuous and awful. I thought it was like pretty fucking spot on, to be honest, because okay, whatever. Maybe I'm just bitching. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being an asshole. Who knows? But again, I will actually put Amazon affiliate links to a bunch of books that I think will help open your mind to the different types of comics out there. One manga that I really like right now is called Pun Pun. It's by Ino Asano. It's a manga. I recommend this manga to like almost everyone that I've ever met because it's an amazing manga series. I have literally every volume. And this writer, they do something so cool. All the writing in the beginning is so realistic. It's about this kid who's in an abusive family. However, the interesting thing about this could even like kind of give you ideas for autobio. The interesting thing about this world, it's all very realistic. The dialogue's realistic, the backgrounds are realistic, everything's very realistic. The tone, realistic. The character himself, he's shaped like a little weird bird thing. And it's just like the trippiest shit ever. You're like, is he actually a bird? What the fuck? And I don't know, there's just everything about it is very good. See, that's a way to make it interesting without really changing much. You're still telling that autobio. You're still telling a story about someone. It could be about yourself. You don't have to do autobio, but that's more like the culprit I've been seeing. I don't know. I just don't want people to automatically put themselves into a trap of what they think comics are so quickly, you know? I don't want everybody's comics to look like BuzzFeed comics. Okay, I'm gonna stop bitching now. Goodbye. Oh, wait, no. I was gonna talk about the actual page today. I bitched so much that I have to actually talk about my own comic. So I've been having technical difficulties, as I mentioned with the last video. Yeah, so I actually forgot to record because I was watching a documentary while I was drawing this page. So like a chunk of it I didn't record the sketching. But yeah, I've just been having the worst time recording all these videos. And I should say my driving lessons went well. So yeah, in case you're wondering. Alright, bye.